Hello everybody, welcome back to Mason Zero ASMR. My name is Mason, and today we're going to be building a mini computer. This is a bit of a spare parts computer, about a few new components, but some of the core pieces are things I've had around, and thought this might be a fun project that I only have to invest under $200 in to finish. So I'm going to go through this step by step, so if you don't know how to make a PC, then this should be helpful. This is a mini PC, which is a little more rare, but if that's something that you're interested in creating for yourself, this would be a good guide. I bought one of the best cases out there if you're just getting into making a miniature PC. It's still relatively spacious, and the big key there is that you can use a normal sized power supply. There's a regular ATX power supply, and there's a mini small form factor power supply, and those are more expensive, harder to find, because they're just less common, but this one uses a full-sized power supply. So I'll be running through the parts as I use them. So we're going to start here with the Aorus B450 Pro Wi-Fi gaming motherboard. This fits AMD Ryzen processors. It is a Ryzen 3000 series ready, but we don't necessarily need that. We'll be using a second generation Ryzen processor. If any of you guys watched my video last year about building a budget PC, it was in an orange case and everything, you'll recognize a few of these parts. That's actually some of the parts that I am recycling, specifically the CPU, which is the box. This is not the original box, but the Ryzen 3 2200G. It's just in a Ryzen 7 box because I got rid of the box at some point. So we're going to go ahead and open and prepare the motherboard. This is so weird. I've never used a mini motherboard before. Oh my gosh, that's adorable. That's so funny. I love it. And then the other components are in here, like the I/O shield, screws, SATA cable, and Wi-Fi antenna. So I'll install the CPU last, I think. We have a 16 gigabyte stick of RAM. I know Ryzen likes fast, and I know Ryzen likes dual channel, but we're using a 2666 stick of 16 gigabyte RAM because that's what I have around, and I don't think it's not going to impact it that much. And then we have a brand new 256 gigabyte NVMe SSD. And that is from Silicon Power. So it's the least expensive 256 gigabyte SSD that I could find in M.2 form factor, and it happened to be an NVMe drive. So we're going to need to undo the shield. And then we will be able to install it. Let's take off the protective layer. Don't need that anymore. And then we'll just slide this in like so. And I guess we don't need to get an extra screw because this is the screw. So we'll put it down, put that back in, and then, oops. And then screw it back in. Installing an M.2 drive is super easy. There's no cables. Actually, I haven't used very many motherboards that have a shield, so that's pretty nice. That is a heatsink. That'll help keep it from overheating. And then for our CPU, we don't need these brackets with our cooler. So we're going to remove those now. A cooler that uses those brackets would not fit in our case. We'll be using the Ryzen 3 2200G's stock cooler that it comes with because it's nice and short. There are lower profile coolers out there, but there's no point in purchasing another one when the one that I have works just fine. I did do my research beforehand to make sure that these parts will fit. So we should not have any room, or we should not have any problems finding room. The graphics card that I'm using is about as big as it can be, but it does fit, and that size does not impede anything. So that looks good. I'll go and grab our CPU. Here's our Ryzen 3. I'm going to open that up. And because I've already used this, there's not thermal paste on the cooler, so I don't need to reapply thermal paste to the CPU. So next we just lift up this bracket. And the secret to Ryzen processors, it has this little golden triangle, and there's a triangle on the motherboard that it coincides with, but also in every board I've ever used, the Ryzen logo goes like this, so you just turn it that way, and it should go right in. Give it a little wiggle, it seems good, and then I will go ahead and close that, and it's in. I'm gonna go get the cooler. Also have some extra back plates in there. This one came with a back plate, so we're fine. This cooler will go like this on top of the CPU, but we need some thermal paste first, which I have this Arctic thermal paste, which works great. This comes in this little tube, and then we just take the cap off and put a small amount onto the processor. Not even pea-sized, and you can just leave it there and then just set the cooler on top and it will naturally spread. So we're just going to line up these screws with these holes, just like that. And this part's going to be loud, so I'm probably going to turn it way down. But you're going to give each of these screws a bit of a half turn and then just go around. Alright, nice and secure. I'm just going to turn a little more. And now we can pick up the motherboard by the cooler. I'm just inspecting to make sure that everything is sufficiently screwed in. It looks pretty good. If I can't take it off like this, then it's not going anywhere. Then we have the CPU fan cable, which I'm not sure where they would put it on this. Looks like it. Yeah, looks like it's right up here in this corner. So I'll take this plug. Actually, I can just show you guys. The plug is right there. So we'll just fit this into the pins like so. And then we'll figure out what to do with that cable later. next thing we need to do is figure out which RAM slot we should put the RAM in, since we just have the one stick. It should be the first one, but I just want to make sure if it specifies. Okay, I don't see anything that specifically mentions the RAM slot, so I'm just going to go ahead and put it in the first slot. So RAM has these two notches that are differently sized. Just match them up with it on the board, slide it into both holes, then push. So you know you have it in there. Push firmly on one side and then firmly on the other until you hear it click. And there we go. There's our stick. And here's our board. Our whole board is done and ready to put into the case. So I'm going to set this aside. So this is our case. I've disassembled it, obviously. And before this video, I put in a single Corsair fan in the front. That actually is the only place in the case that supports a fan, but it supports up to 140 millimeter fan, I believe. Maybe more. Maybe it's like a 240, I'm not sure. But anyways, that is the main fan. The only other fans that will be on the system are the CPU cooler and the fans of the graphics card. So hopefully we have good airflow, but it's going to be tight. So the front panel is off because we actually need to slide the graphics card in through the front. But before we do any of that, we'll need to install our I/O shield. Ooh, this is one of the nice ones that's padded on this side. So we'll just line up the audio outputs with the bottom, and actually be this hole right here. So I'm just gonna attach that. It's always a little hard to get in. That wasn't too bad. Now I think we can move to put the motherboard in, which should be pretty easy. So I'm going to pull some of these cables out so we have room. Okay, there we go. Now, move this more into view. So there's some standoffs here for the motherboard. So we're just going to go like this. Okay, it's as lined up as it can be. So now we're going to put in some screws, which will finish lining it up. So we've got the screw bag that came with the case. And find some motherboard screws, which I guess are just, should be these guys. It's always hard to tell for sure. And this case did not come with a manual, which I think is interesting. So we've got these screws. I'm going to try to get in here and screw them in. sure will be very easy. The I/O shield actually has so much padding that it's pushing out the motherboard, and I have to push the motherboard quite a bit just to get the screw holes to line up. But once I get one in, it should be much easier. There we go. Now it should stay in place much better. Let's try to get this one in the back. The whole thing can be lined up. And one thing I'm not sure about is this top area. I don't think I need it. I'm not exactly sure what it's for. I think it's to hold a full-sized hard drive. But I also don't know if I can remove it. It looks like I can, but I think I'll just leave it just in case. I think it'll be alright. It is hard to get a screwdriver in here, though. And then one more screw, which is the hardest one to reach, way back here. But this should be fine. Okay, we have our motherboard installed. As you can see, there is still lots of room left, but not for long. Next, we're going to install our graphics card. Normally, I wouldn't do this next in a regular build, but it actually makes sense in this case, which is kind of funny. So, this is an EVGA GeForce GTX 1060 SSC, which is super clocked. This is a pretty good 1060. No backplate, but I got it pretty cheap. So we're actually going to slide that in through the front. Gently. This barely fits. Get it all the way into the back. I'll try to plug it in. Alright, we did it. Now I just have to finish plugging it in. Oh my god. It's in. Wow. Feels good. Now hopefully I don't regret putting that in, because now we have to do all the front panel connections and stuff. But that isn't blocking any of them, so I think it'll be okay. So we actually have a ton of room right here in the front. It's kind of hard to see, but that's going to be nice. So let me figure out where to plug in this fan, first of all. There we go. Alright. I wonder... I can probably do this. Does that help at all? No. Alright, let me move the camera a bit, see if I can't get a better view here. Okay, that should help. There's too many bars in the way, so it's a little difficult to see still, but hopefully that helps a bit. So what we're doing now is plugging in the single case fan, which is a Corsair 120mm fan. Came with a AIO cooler, but we changed to a fan that has LEDs on it. So I'm just gonna get a little bit more of this cable, and then it plugs in right about here. I think that is the only other fan header other than the CPU fan, which is totally fine because that's all we need. There's a lot of RGB headers in this case though. Let's grab our front panel. going to start with the big one. That big one is USB 3. So it's easily the biggest cable, and it's also the closest to the graphics card, so I wanted to start there. Let's get enough slack. Alright, it's in. That wasn't too bad. Then we have USB 2, which I think is... Where is the USB 2? Hopefully there is one. I think it's way back there. Oddly enough. Oh no, this is HD audio. My apologies. But alright, I'm gonna have to consult the motherboard manual to make sure. Now remember, fellow men, it's not shameful to consult the manual. In fact, it's very important when you're dealing with fancy hardware. So I just need, yeah, there we go. So I'm looking for front audio, which is number 10, which is right there. I was correct, that is front audio. So we're going to take our audio, match up the missing pin, and plug that in. I might actually need to wait on that until I get more things plugged in. I'm going to do the front panel connections first then, just because I need to have less, I need to have more slack in the cables. So then the question becomes, where is the front panel connectors? Let's get our flashlight. I think it's that one. But again, let me double check the manual. There's a brightly colored one in there. It's color coded. It should be that one. Once again, I was correct. However, it's not labeled as to what the orientation is, so I need to find that. There we go, front panel. So, yeah, it looks pretty standard. So we need our power LED and HDD LED are the first bank. Just plug that in like so. And then plus should be on the left. In plus on the left and minus on the right. These things are very tiny. Then we have power and reset. Reset should be on the bottom, yeah, and then power on the top. So I'll just plug those in. Plug that in. Okay, those are our front panel connections. So now we can close up the front panel, plug in our HD audio, and then work on the power supply. This case is very cool because everything is accessible via 4 screws. So the front panel has a screw here, a screw up here, and 2 more on the sides. So we're just going to take a screw. Oh, if I can get it on my screwdriver. Let's use my other one. Get out my screwdriver. There we go. There's two different sizes here actually. I need to actually use the correct one. Which I believe are these tiny ones because they're low profile. Okay, our front panel is on and secured, so I didn't show that to you guys yet. It looks like this. So here's what we got so far. I know the camera's a bit close. Now, before I forget, let's secure our graphics card. So I got this little thing. Which attaches to the case. And that will keep our graphics card in place a little better. Then we take these screws, line it up, and then punch through the case, the graphics card, on the other side of the case. Now it's not going anywhere. And get the other one as well. This one's a little harder to line up. There we go, that's in now. See, our graphics card is firmly secured. I'm just gonna bring the camera back again. Okay, so now comes the hard part, the power supply. Let's make these cables a little more room. Oh yeah, we never plugged in our audio cable. That's important. There's not much room, which is kind of the theme of this whole thing. There we go. Quite the reach. Doing cable management is going to be quite difficult. I should probably do some now. Did I get all of these white cables kind of intermixed? I think I did. Yeah. Okay, let's undo that audio cable again. Make sure we don't tie anything together this time. Okay, there we go. Now we can plug it back in. We shouldn't be tying any cables together this time around. Okay, that's plugged in again. see if we can tuck that in around some stuff. That'll do for now. And we should be able to tie a lot of these other cables to the case itself. But now we have the power supply. This is going to be difficult because this is the power supply. It's a big boy. So I'm just trying to think of what would be the best way to do this. If I should plug in things that I need beforehand. I think that is what I should do. So let's go ahead and plug in our CPU power, and hopefully we don't have to rearrange this. Yep, I'm just gonna like half plug it in, just in case I have to remove that, because that's going to be difficult to remove if I need to do it. Then let's get our graphics card power. Luckily we only need one of our 8 pins, so and there is a convenient hole that lets us gain access to that. So we're going to try our best. Almost got it. Okay, we got it. Excellent. And then our motherboard power, of course. Go in like so. I think I'll be safe in plugging that in. Okay, I'm gonna go get some twist ties. That way we can deal with all these other cables. All right, we've got twist ties. We're going to need them. So, let's start by wrapping up. No, I don't know. I don't even know where to start. I'm going to wrap up these front panel connectors first. Maybe I'll just wrap them all together so that they stay together. I don't know if I'll be able to tie them down to anything. Overall, this has been a good PC build. Nothing has gone particularly wrong, but I think the power supply is going to be the most difficult aspect of it. We do have a lot of room to stuff cables. Oh, and our HD audio came undone. Let's make sure we get that in nice and good. I'm basically stuck pushing down the cable rather than the actual connector, which makes it very difficult. I'm actually going to use a screwdriver to help guide it in. Oh my gosh. Okay, stay in. Alright, I think we're ready for the power supply. So let me get my screws ready. And my screwdriver. I'm going to gently lift this guy up. Drape these cables over. Stuff these cables in for the time being. Okay, I think all these cables are going to have to go in. I may actually need to remove this panel up here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I don't know if we'll need to keep it off, but at least right now, with all the other parts in here, it seems like the power supply is going to have some trouble getting in, which I didn't have that problem before, so I think now the motherboard and things have made it not super great clearance. Let's see if we can remove this bad boy. Nice. I might just keep this removed. Now we should have no problem. Perfect. Yeah, that's not a lot of clearance for the CPU. Unfortunately. A lower profile cooler or a lower profile power supply would definitely help, but neither of those are options at the moment. So I'll just have to see how thermals end up being. Okay, now comes cable management, which will not be easy, but it looks like it's all going to fit. Let's plug in our CPU power. I think we can commit to that. Now we have so much more room to work with up here. That's nice. So I'm going to take all these extra cables and tie them up where I can. And I think we should be able to combine them with the power cable for the graphics card. Yeah, there we go. And it'd be nice to attach this to something, but I don't think that's going to happen. One thing I want to make sure of is that our fan is unimpeded by cables. this cable, maybe you can just, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of things just kept here by tension, I think. Whew, that CPU cooler is very close to the power supply. That does not bode well for our thermals, but I shouldn't be surprised. I'm just going to tie this cable to the case through this little hole. That should help a little bit. Okay, I think we did it. There's the back, there's the top, there's the front, there's the graphics card side. So now will be the moment of truth with the exterior of the case. Which just goes on like so. There we go. I think. Okay, it took a little convincing, but I think we closed it. Maybe. All right, it's closed up. She's done. We finished our first mini PC. I did forget to mention this is the Silverstone SG13 case, I believe. Yeah, that's nice. And it's super light. Like I can easily hold this with one hand. It's so small, it's so light. Anyways, thanks guys for watching the build portion. I'll show some benchmarks if I can at the end of the video. But I just wanted to say thank you all so much for watching me build this. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions about computer building, feel free to send me a message on Twitter or drop a comment down below in the comments. Have a great night, and this is Mason Zero ASMR signing off. Enjoy the performance benchmarks. Hey guys, Future Mason here. Now we're at the part where I'm hooking up the computer. This is just a voiceover, because I wasn't sure how long some of this stuff would take. So you're gonna see some sped up footage here. But I took my main computer out from where it normally is, and so I could put the mini PC in that spot for now. And then set everything up, turned on, I just couldn't get the display to show up. But then it ended up coming up on that monitor. And here I am just setting up Windows. But yeah, the PC worked out pretty well. I didn't have any issues. As I was setting it up, I was just taking a look inside, making sure that air was coming out of everywhere that it was supposed to, and all that stuff. Once I got Windows installed, I pulled up a CPU temperature software, and everything seemed fine. I mean, it was a little warm, but nothing out of the ordinary. I think idling was like 40 degrees, and when stuff was getting up and going, I think it got up to like 60, but that's pretty good, honestly. And here we are doing a 3D Mark times by benchmark, just to kind of stress the system and see how it does. At the end, I'll pop up some numbers that compare it to my regular system, but yeah, running this, I didn't see temperatures go too crazy, so I can say with confidence that this case is awesome. A single fan is all you need, and even if you're running a power supply that takes up a ton of space like mine does, it'll work out. So overall, I'm very happy with this project. Let me know what you think of this mini PC in the comments below. And now here is my TimeSpy results compared with the results from my main system. The difference is that my main system is of course a micro ATX form factor, so it's a larger size, a lot more room, like a ton more room. I have a Ryzen 7 3700X with the stock cooler. That is a 8-core processor, much more powerful than the Ryzen 3 2200G. I have 4 fans. In that case, 3 in the front and 1 for exhaust. And then 32 gigs of RAM spread across 4 sticks at 3000 megahertz. So those are the differences. But as you can see, the graphics score is exactly the same, which makes sense. And the rest of the scores were pretty much the same. Obviously, it's a graphics card dependent software in terms of those benchmarks, but the fact that it didn't really drop is a good sign that the system isn't being thermal throttled or anything like that. I'll have to do some more extensive tests to be totally sure, but these are good signs to start with. The motherboard has Wi-Fi, which is super cool. That's going to be awesome. I'm glad the motherboard has a heat shield for the M.2. That's very cool as well. And then, what else was I going to mention? Oh, I want to go back in and do some cable management. I kind of hastily threw it together, and since now I know it works, I'll go back and do some good cable management. The motherboard has some LEDs on it that can be controlled. I just set them to blue because the USB ports kind of glowed blue on the case, so I just kept those. I just kept those lights blue. You can't really see it inside the case anyways, just a little bit through the front mesh. But yeah, it's very lightweight. Seems like it's going to perform well. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I might sell it, or I might keep it and use it as my backup PC for when friends come over. Currently, I do have a PC for that, which I actually took this graphics card out of. So we'll see if I sell that or I sell this. I kind of like this. I don't need the other computer that's really big. Anyways, yeah, this was a fun project, and thank you guys so much for joining me in it. I love doing computer builds on this channel, and you guys always seem to like them, so subscribe for more, like this video if you did, and comment your thoughts or your questions if you want to know more about building a PC or building a mini PC. That being said, I will see you all in next week's video. Good night.